All right, so since this is the last show of the year, it's been a tough show already, right? We've had debates, we've had discussions, we've had disagreements. We had to find a way to wrap things up in a good direction. So last time we did the superlative section. We had included some worse things and all of that. But this time we decided, you know what? If you devolve into anything negative, it's just gonna get a downer. And why end the year on such a note? So everything from this moment forward is gonna be a positive superlative about something that happened this year. So first we're doing best moment. Krystal, what do you got?
Yeah, so for me, best moment of the year was when the UAW, after their historic stand-up strike, was able to obtain extraordinary gains from all of the big three automakers. It's now set off a wave of organizing among automakers that are not currently unionized, including Tesla. And perhaps the cherry on top, the sweetest moment of them all, was when Jim Cramer, who had been trashing the president, Sean Fain, as a Marxist, telling the car companies they should just ship all their jobs to Mexico, when even he was forced to admit that the auto workers had won. Take a listen.
I think that the UAW was underestimated the whole way because Fain just beat them everywhere. It was very much guerrilla action. It was very smart. They were completely, they were outgained at every turn. I mean, it was almost like that Fain was a great NFL coach who really figured out all the weaknesses of the other team and just came in and blew them away. They were blitzing. They were doing everything right. I mean, they had like linebacker and corner blitzes and safety blitzes, and you know they like the other guys like I love Farley and I love Barr. And I think that they were, wow, what happened? They were in the wow, what happened camp, and when the game was over, it was just a real beatdown.
Real beatdown. I love at the beginning, Saagar, when he's like, they were underestimated. It's like, by who? By you, more than anyone else. That goes unacknowledged, though, but still beautiful to see that moment.
Yeah, mine is a good old-fashioned clean fun, united America in hilarity and horror and schadenfreude, and that was Congresswoman Lauren Boebert at Beetlejuice. I mean, who cannot help but laugh at this woman just making an utter and total fool of herself in public, vaping, getting kicked out for groping her mate, then saying and denying, actually, that she acted this way, forcing the employees at this theater to then leak the condemning video of this to local news. And this one went everywhere. It was everyone's feed. It hit the normie star. I even dressed up as Beetlejuice for Halloween as a tribute to Mrs. Boebert for reminding me. Rewatched the movie, so thank you. I've only said Beetlejuice twice now in this block so far. So there were a lot of great jokes. There were too many good ones that happened as a result of this. So for me, it was just good old-fashioned clean fun.
Feels like a throwback to a more innocent time.
I agree
when
completely.
we could cover things like that and not have to be like, are we watching an ethnic cleansing? Are we watching a genocide? It feels good to nostalgically relive Lauren Boebert's night out there at Beetlejuice. And you're so right that this really did land with a normie audience.
Everybody, yeah.
Now, I still maintain that I actually am in support of more representation for trashy hoes everywhere. I would like to see more of this among leftists, among my political ideology. So let's go for more. She's actually a grandma too. More trashy grandmas.
Oh my goodness.
Kyle and I covered the Pornhub map that came out. Apparently, there's been a huge surge in interest in grandma porn and GILFs, which people can probably interpret them. Yeah. Maybe Lauren Boebert sparked that.
She's 37 years old.
I'm just connecting the dots now that perhaps she was the spark and the interest for the rise in grandma porn.
Only 6 years older than I. Oh my God. Okay, all right. That's a whole other conversation. All right, next question.
We won't judge people's personal decisions.
What do we have?
Okay, next we have, what are we most excited for about 2024? And mine, I just said pure chaos.
Yes.
At this point, I mean, listen, Biden or Trump or both could die. Someone could get thrown in jail. Someone could be impeached. Someone could get kicked off the ballot. I mean, we just don't even know. And not that I'm saying any of these are good things. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But at this point, I'm just sort of like I guess we're going to have to embrace the suck, let it burn, whatever, because I think it's going to be an insane year, and it's very hard for me to come up with something that I'm genuinely like affirmatively, positively excited about.
One of the most frequent questions we get is, how do you deal with this? How do you deal with the job? And to be honest, a detached curiosity has been the way that I've eventually landed on. That's the only way I think you can actually stay sane and do the job. And yeah, that's why for pure chaos, you can't help but have a little bit of excitement about it. I love history. It's very rare for people to actually be able to know in the moment that you are quote unquote living through history. I think most people through the 90s, they probably thought they were, but unless it was the fall of the Berlin Wall, or, well, I guess that was 89. So even at the fall of the Soviet Union, something like that, yeah, most likely things are gonna pass you by. But with Ukraine, just in the years that you and I have been doing a show together, I mean, think about the things we've covered. COVID, a pandemic in the 100 years, January 6th, the latest, the Ukraine war, Israel and Hamas, I mean, so many of these things. And then now to just know, to be on the precipice of this, I can't help but feel some excitement. At least I get to live through something crazy and help make sense of it, of the world with all of you people. So for me, that's an exciting thing.
All right, Saagar, what about you? What do you got?
Mine is, once again, I mean, can't help, had to put a UFO thing in here. Let's put this up
True to
there.
form.
One thing I'm excited about, and is that repeatedly from people in the UFO community, they said, this UFO transparency is gonna be forced in there or not, whether the legislation passes or it doesn't. So just even though they did a cover up, they blocked all of the transparency initiatives inside of the Senate NDAA. I think a lot more people like David Grush are gonna come forward and tell us a little bit about what they know, and I think we will be just a tiny little bit step closer to understanding the reality and the truth of what is happening. So the reality of it though, I don't think we'll find out, per se or whatever in 2024, but I think we'll have more interesting stuff to cover in 2024 as a result of Dave Grush coming forward, and I'm hopeful for that. Or maybe we'll get disproven the other way. Either way, I'll take it.
Indeed.
I think that's good for people.
So obviously 2023 was a year with a lot of clouds, a lot of very dark clouds, but that's why we said, all right, well, let's try to look for a silver lining in some of this. And for me, it was the way that we've seen, in the wake of Roe versus Wade being overturned, that people have really shown up to try to reclaim or protect their rights at the ballot. The abortion rights have won in every single ballot test where they have been where voters have had a chance to go and weigh in. They have won in 7 different states since it was originally overturned in June of 2022. And we just saw one of these in Ohio in this past off-year election. So to me, that's, obviously I didn't support Roe versus Wade being overturned, but it is at least encouraging the backlash to that and how many people have flooded the polls to try to reclaim the rights that they have lost.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, nobody expected it. I certainly didn't. So it was stunning to the whole chaos thing. I'll put mine here up on the screen. We can put this up there, which is about Ukraine. And that's the reality setting in on the ground in Ukraine. And that might sound callous, but I really believed since the day of the invasion that this was the most precarious situation in the world just because of nuclear weapons. I think our policy has just been a total disaster. Tens of thousands of Ukrainian men have now been killed. You've got hundreds of thousands who are injured. Just yesterday, I read a story about a freaking 47-year-old guy who was kidnapped off the street, too poor to bribe his way out of the draft, and now is on the front line serving in an infantry division. And he's upset about it. He says, physically, I cannot handle this. I wish I was 20 years younger. So look, we need to put an end to this situation for the Ukrainian people, for the goal, for the good of peace. I still believe, even with Israel, Hamas, and all that, this is one of those situations where you are just one bad moment away from going hot. And it has been a long priority of mine from the day that it happened in order to keep and try and stop, the ongoing insanity. And I think that the vibe shifted completely because of the failure of the Ukrainian counteroffensive. And I hope in the next year that we will see peace come to that region, or at least, an attempt and an acknowledgement of that for the future.
Yeah,
that's what I would hope.
I certainly hope so. All right, our last category is what was the biggest plot twist?
Yes.
Or what have you got for this one?
Well, this is one I've been meaning to do for a long time. Israel-Hamas happened, so obviously I wasn't just gonna put it in the show, but it is about Hassan Minaj. And I gotta be honest, I did a monologue about Hassan Minaj, about how the New Yorker exposed him. I still think he plays into identity politics tropes and others that I vehemently disagree with, but one of the stories in that New Yorker article was accused accused Hassan Minaj of lying about how he was rejected from the prom because his prom or his like possible prom date's parents were racist. And I gotta say, I listened to Hassan's rebuttal whenever it came out, I guess a month and a half or so ago, and he convinced me. At least on this one point, he absolutely convinced me. I'll play some of it for you right now if you didn't hear it.
First, I want to talk about how and why I was rejected from prom. Now, let me first say this. I am 38 years old with a wife and 2 kids. I do not give a shit about prom. But it's a big story from my first stand-up special, and the New Yorker implied that I made it all up and that my race wasn't a factor in my rejection. But it was, and I have the evidence to prove it.
He's got like a 20-something long minute video. He's got the receipts. He goes through some of the other allegations.
Does he have what, like emails or what's
He's got text messages,
Oh, really?
emails,
Oh,
like
wow.
her saying this and this, acknowledging, that some stuff happened in the past. I mean, look, it's on the prom thing, there's no
Open and
question
shut.
about it. Like, she absolutely railroaded him. And on some of the other ones,
Wow.
I wouldn't say she railroaded him as much on the other ones, but she definitely misconstrued some of the things that he said, and she did not include the fulsome nature of his response. So I gotta own up to it. Hassan, I apologize. That's one of those where, I fell victim. I'll say this too about, the belief in the mainstream media and all that. This wasn't even me trusting the New Yorker. It just looked factual, and I know that reporter. I followed her for years now, Claire Malone, who used to work over at 538. So I was like, man, if this is Claire Malone's work, this is somebody who I know and I've trusted her work for a long time now. The response, the way that it was presented, it looks totally ironclad. He did not have any comment immediately in the aftermath. So you couldn't help but just think like, it was a huge mistake on his part. I agree with you. But after the fulsome nature of it all came out, I'm like, all right, you got to give it to the man. And I've been meaning to do this for a while. So Hassan, here's to you.
Has she responded to the fact?
Stands by the story, which is bullshit. Come on.
They haven't done a correction.
No, no correction. They said they stand by it 100%.
And that calls into question the whole
now,
thing.
yeah, exactly. So now I'm like, is this whole thing?
It's because that makes it clear, like, oh, this was a hatchet job.
Right.
You had a story you wanted to tell about this, and you were trying to fit the facts into what you wanted to say. And so, it does.
And he had personal consequences from what I can see. I mean, he didn't get the Daily. I mean, I don't know if he would want the Daily Show position, but I would tell him not to take it, given where that show has gone. But he probably didn't get a job up because of it. And that doesn't sit right with me. So,
that could also play into why he didn't respond. It may have been that they told him, like, you just never know behind the scenes what pressures he was under to just like stay quiet on it and hope that it goes away. Anyway, all right. Our apologies to Hassan for, not believing him in the first place.
That's right.
All right. My plot twist is, do you guys remember back when Mayor Eric Adams was elected mayor of New York City? And there was all this chatter. Oh, he's the next Democratic presidential candidate. And this guy's a superstar. And he's showing how to win and showing Democrats how it's done. Well, that has now completely flipped to him giving answers like this one.
Mr. Mayor, we've come to the end of what was a very eventful 2023, right? So when you look at the totality of the year, if you had to describe it, and it's tough to do, in one word, what would that word be, and tell me why?
New York. This is a place where every day you wake up, you could experience everything from a plane crashing into our trade center to a person who's celebrating a new business that's open. This is a very, very complicated city.
I'll be honest with you. I just really wanted to play that clip in the show.
Yeah.
Because every part of it, what really bugs me the most is he asks him for one word. Right. And then he says New York, which is 2 words. And then it just gets more and more absurd from there. And he's like, it's amazing. You can wake up and see a plane fly into the World Trade Center, or someone opening a small business.
I have
it's an incredible city.
That is one of the most what the fuck moments that I've ever seen, where it's like, dude, what is wrong with you? Also, if you're a family of 9/11,
right?
Like, you'd be like, yeah, that was actually the worst day of my life. So thanks for reminding me of that. What's wrong with you?
Incredible. I love how the interviewer just keeps his interview.
I feel like he didn't hear it
too.
I feel like he had a list of questions and he didn't even play. I mean, you know how it is. Like, sometimes people are talking, you've got other stuff and you want to make sure you're ready for the next question and all that. I don't think he realized what was being said.
Especially when you're throwing out like the softest of softballs of all time. And so your brain probably just like checks out. Like, oh, I'm sure he'll say something, anodyne here and we'll move on to the next one or wrap it up or whatever. And instead he just gives the most ridiculous and hilarious answer of all times. I appreciate it. I thank him for that moment.
It's like,
thank you, Mayor.
I would have expected him just to like say a lyric from NYC, from Annie or something. It's like, what are you doing?
I mean, right. It's just like, anyway.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor Adams.
Yes.
And thank you to all of you for being with us this year, trusting us to cover news that has been oftentimes very difficult, very challenging, very complex. We are going to be off next week, but I'm going to look to do, Saagar's going to be out. But if big things break on Israel or anything else, I'll do some little updates for you guys. And we also have additional content that we're looking forward to you all getting to check out. I did a long interview with Norm Finkelstein and Saagar sitting down with Tucker Carlson. So definitely look for those as well.
There you go. Take advantage if you can. We're going to be releasing them earlier to our premium subs. Otherwise, I will see you all in the new year.
Happy holidays, guys. See you in the new year.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.